Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Rush to Judgment with Jessica, and I'm Jessica. How are we doing today? Everybody doing okay? Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, guess what? I think I found something. That I want to watch. Well, there's supposedly supposed to be coming up some interesting trials um, within the next couple weeks. Um, and right now, there is a trial going on that is like a retrial for a man that was accused. Um, I don't know. I don't know much about that one, but I guess he was accused of killing his wife and convicted of killing his wife with antifreeze um, back in the 80s, and he's getting a retrial now. I didn't want to watch that one. That one didn't catch my attention, but this one did. This one is a trial. It's Iowa family murders. It's Iowa versus Alexander Jackson. And today was day one of the trial. So it's opening statements and all of that jazz today. And I haven't watched any of it. So that's going to be the first of all of the things. He is charged with 3 first-degree murder charges in the deaths of his father, his mother, and his sister. Let's see if I can put this little article up here. Sorry if I keep looking back. I'm trying to keep an eye on what this little puppy is doing. But let's see. Share this one. So that's him. That was his arrest photo. But Alexander Jackson, a 20-year-old University of Iowa student, called police Tuesday morning in a panic. I don't even know when this happened. This article was written in June of 2021, so I'm assuming that's when it happened. So Alexander Jackson, a 20-year-old University of Iowa student, called police Tuesday morning in a panic, claiming a masked intruder had shot him and his father inside their home. When Cedar Rapids officers arrived at the scene, they found Jackson's parents and his 19-year-old sister, a high-achieving student who introduced then presidential candidate Andrew Yang during his 2019 visit to Iowa, fatally shot in different rooms of the expansive house. Jackson had suffered a gunshot wound to the foot after what he insisted was a struggle over the rifle with a mysterious man. Police, however, now believe it was actually Jackson who murdered his father, 61-year-old Jan Jackson, his 68-year-old mother, Melissa Jackson, and their daughter, Sabrina. Jackson has been charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and is being held in Lynn County Jail on $3 million bond. While authorities have not yet established a motive, a criminal complaint... Wait till you hear... Oh. A criminal complaint obtained by the Daily Beast said that Jackson admitted that his father had recently advised that he needed to find a job or move out. It noted that the house showed no signs of being burglarized. This was a horrendous murder, Assistant Lynn County Attorney Ryan Decker said during Jackson's initial court appearance on Wednesday. This was more than just a murder. It was an execution of the defendant's mother, father, and sister. Furthermore, the defendant's concocted story of a phantom burglar shows burglar Burglar. Is that, did I say? I don't know if that sounds right. Burglar. Yep. Okay. Shows the defendant acted out of malice and calculated intent to get away with these murders. According to the complaint, officers arrived at the scene around 8:23 a.m. Tuesday after Jackson's frantic call about a male intruder. Officers, however, instead found his 3 slain family members. They recovered a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle believed to be the murder weapon. Jackson told authorities that he woke up to the sound of gunfire and was shot in the foot during a struggle with a masked man over the rifle. The complaint states, that was worded funny. He told police he and his father had cleaned the rifle the night before and left it on the fireplace overnight. The incident sent shockwaves through the Jackson family's quiet suburban community. A candlelight vigil had been planned for Wednesday night at Kennedy High School, which Jackson and his sister attended before they both went to the University of Iowa. In 2019, Sabrina made local headlines when she introduced Yang, who is now running for New York City mayor, during his discussion with State Senator Rob Hogg about climate change. According to Iowa Starting Line, the then senior described how she first heard about Yang on a podcast and was immediately enthralled. Yang's political outlook is a breath of fresh air, Sabrina Jackson said during her introduction speech. Yang isn't interested in the rhetoric of one side of the argument, but he listens to everybody with respect. He's an outsider politics, sure, but he's the right kind of outsider. He's experienced with the economy and the business of our country. A year later, she would follow her brother to college about 35 miles away from home, where she studied at the College of Liberal Arts. Alexander Jackson, who graduated high school in 2019, where he played the flute in the school's symphony band, attended the same college, according to the Associated Press. In a statement to the Daily Beast, a university spokesperson said, "Our thoughts are with those impacted by this tragic situation." The Daily Beast could not find any prior criminal history for Jackson or any of his family members in Iowa. On Wednesday, police said that he was put on suicide watch, but noted that the practice is standard for new inmates facing a possible life sentence for their accused crimes. Jackson's next expected court hearing is June 25th. But yeah, so that's a little background on that. That's a little background on that. So that's what this trial is about. And so it should be interesting. I'm interested. It has caught my attention. So with that being said, we are going to get right into it, because I'm apparently, she's going to lay down. But so I also am going to remind all of the newcomers that I am not a legal specialist. I do not specialize in any legal, anything legal. I'm not any type of lawyer or anything like that. This is just purely for fun and commentary, because I'm weird like that and like to watch legal stuff and comment on it, even though I'm not a lawyer and whatever. So, the things that I say, they may not be right, they may not be wrong. I don't know. Maybe you learn something, maybe you don't. It's just fun. It's all in good fun. So that is how that goes. But we are gonna get into this one. We're gonna share this screen now. Yes. And we're gonna make it bigger. And the fun part about it is that since it's already played today, we can watch it faster and with closed captioning. So we don't have to watch it in like real time, and we can skip through parts. So it was a little quiet on their end. Of course, there's people coughing in the courtroom, because where would we be without a cougher? And I will be right back.
This item is request court now in session. The Honorable Judge Lawrence Anderson now presiding.
All right, everyone, go ahead and have a seat. All right, we are on the record this morning. We have our jurors present, counsel and Mr. Jackson. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You do have your packets now, as I think I mentioned to you, you would. There are notepads and pens in there that you can use, as well as the button I mentioned that will identify you as a juror that we ask that you wear while you're here in the courthouse. All right, Mr. Scheer, is the state prepared to proceed with the statement of charge and plea?
We are, Your Honor.
You may.
In the Iowa District Court in and for Lane County, State of Iowa versus Alexander Kin Jackson. Comes now Jerry Vanderson as prosecuting attorney and name and by the authority of the state of Iowa accuses Alexander Kin Jackson of the crime of count 1, murder in the first degree, committed as follows. That the said Alexander Kin Jackson, on or about June 15, 2021, in the county of Lynn, state of Iowa, did unlawfully and willfully, having malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, killed Jan Jackson at 4414 Oak Leaf Court Northeast, Cedar Rapids, Lincoln County, Iowa. Violation of Iowa Code sections.
This judge is very young.
707.2 sub 1 sub A. Count 2, murder in the first degree, committed as follows. That the said Alexander Kin Jackson, on or about June 15, 2021, in the county of Lynn and state of
It was
Iowa,
June 15th, 2021.
and willfully, having malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, killed Melissa Jackson, 4414 Oak Leaf Court Northeast, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Violation of Iowa Code
Malice aforethought.
707.
Is that just me, or words sounding funny today?
Committed as follows. That Alexander Kin Jackson, on about 15 in one county of Iowa, and willfully, having malice aforethought, deliberately,
Aforethought.
premeditation, killed Sabrina Jackson at 4414 Oak Leaf Court Northeast, Cedar Rapids, Lynn County, Iowa. Violation of Iowa Code section 707.1, 707.2 sub 1 sub A. A true information, signed, Gary Benson, Monica Slaughter, Assistant Lane County Attorney. To these charges, the defendant has entered a plea
Slaughter.
guilty.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the parties through
Unfortunate
their
name.
attorneys will have an opportunity to make opening statements. In doing so, they may explain to you what they believe are the issues in this case and what they expect that the evidence will show. The statements that they are going to be making and the arguments that they will make at the conclusion of the evidence are not themselves evidence and are not to be considered by you as evidence. So any statements that they make now or later about the law are not to be considered by you as the law of the case. Since evidence sometimes comes in sort of a piecemeal fashion or out of chronological or logical sequence during the course of a trial, statements of counsel may help put the facts as they believe them into perspective. They're intended to give you a thumbnail sketch of the case and to outline the evidence to better aid you in understanding both the issues and what they believe the evidence will show. Therefore, please give counsel your close attention. Mr. Shear, are you prepared to proceed for the state?
I am, Your Honor.
You may.
May it please the court, Mr. Counsel.
He just looks uncomfortable.
I want you to think that he had the perfect family life. That his mother, Melissa, his father, Jan, his sister, Sabrina, they all got along great. They had family dinners. They played board games. It was perfect. On the Eagle Scout badge, there are 2 stars. Those stars stand for truth and knowledge. The evidence is going to show you what the truth is about this.
Oh my God, he's a baby, y'all.
And it's not what Mr. Jackson claimed it to be. On June 15th of 2021, a 911 call went out early in the morning hours. That call was made by the defendant, stating someone had broken into our house and shot me and my family. This call
Sir, your suit is just a tad too fitted.
You're going to hear the entirety of this call. And even in this call begins inconsistency with what the defendant said had happened on that date in question. But the majority of that call focused on was this person breaking in, and that there was a struggle, and the defendant got shot in the foot. The dispatcher asked
Ouch.
multiple times, describe this person. Who else is there? Eventually, the defendant does acknowledge that his sister and mother are home. And then as further conversation goes on in this call, the defendant then says, my sister, my mother, my father. Although the 911 call dispatcher doesn't catch the last that his father is there, because officers will testify when they arrive on scene, what they thought they were going to was not what they expected. Officer Curtis
He's
Wells,
nervous.
certified K-9 officer, along with Officer Tim Brown, Officer Corey Barber, Sergeant Phil Hansen, Officer Justin Kaczynski, arrived in the area of 4414 Oakleaf Court Northeast. A very nice neighborhood. See, this was a nice, sunny, warm day in June. It's about 8:31 when they arrived. Immediately, officers had suspicions of what exactly is going on. They all were quick with body cam. You'll see the body cam footage from Officer Barber, Officer Buckles, and Officer Brown. And they take precaution to approach the home, not knowing what is inside. The information that they were given that this was someone that had broken in and shot the defendant. They were not even sure how many people were inside the home. So they approached the home very cautiously. Officer Brown takes a wide loop.
Cautiously, not costly.
The woods to see guard. Officer Buckles with other officers approach slowly, trying to avoid windows. They have the dispatcher call inside the home, believing if sister and the mother are there, to answer the phone and come out. As they approach the back of the house, you see the back door open. Officer Buckles is the first officer to enter into the home. And what he sees is not what he expected. He sees the dead body of Jan Jackson face down in the carpet. Blood coming from his head around his body. Officer Buckles hears a voice. Officer Buckles does not know where this voice is coming from, and thinks initially it's coming from Mr. Jackson. It says, "Show me your hands." And then we hear a voice say, "My hand is on my foot." Officers immediately realize there's another person down here, and that's Mr. Jackson is deceased. Shortly down the hallway is the defendant holding his foot, a trail of blood going towards the defendant. Right when officers entered into the home, there's a fireplace. There's 22 caliber shells and bullets spread out along the fireplace. There's a love seat. Behind the love seat, there were 22 shell casings in a pile. Around the body of Jan Jackson, There are bullets, shell casing. Officers immediately conduct a productive search to see what is inside the house, to clear it if there's anyone else present or any other firearms available. They make their way down the hallway towards where the defendant is, asking, "Who's down here?" The defendant's response, "My sister is." They ask if she's okay. The defendant says, "Yeah, I think she is." They go into Sabrina Jackson's bedroom, where she's laying in bed with her covers around her, shot and dead. They now realize they have 3 victims or concerns: 2 dead bodies and Mr. Jackson with a gunshot in his foot. They make their way upstairs to continue to sweep the house to look for any other individual there. Their dog Hero is out on the sun porch.
Oh, the puppy.
The back bedroom where Melissa and Jan's master bedroom is. Next to the bed, on the ground, sloped down, they find Melissa Jackson, dead,
Ugh.
shot multiple times. They found shell casings as well. They go downstairs, they find the .22 Browning rifle next to the defendant. They call for help. They soon realize that this is more than what they thought it was going to be. This was no longer a burglary case. This was a triple homicide. They had paramedics, with their help, escort the defendant outside the home, onto the stretcher, and taken to the hospital for help on his foot. Still not 100% sure what's going on here. This was supposed to be a burglary. It's not. There's something more. There's 3 dead bodies. So they need to start securing the scene, start looking for any signs of intruders or anyone that else could have been there that left the area. They find no evidence of any sign of anyone else inside that home that morning, except for the defendant, Sabrina, Melissa, and Jake. There is no signs of forced entry. There is no signs of a struggle. There are no signs of any furniture, objects moved. There's no signs of anything taken. Officer Buckles, with his canine partner, Corsa,
Officer
who
Bubbles.
is certified through the North American Police Work Dog Association, known as NAPWA, conducted a track to see for this phantom burglar, who only description they were given was a black man wearing black. Officer Buckles will tell you about
That's racist.
how he's certified in dual tracking and also looking for explosives. He'll tell you about how Corsa conducts a track looking for an individual. You'll see also how that track is conducted. He'll tell you about how the dog breathes, how he reads the dog's indications of something is changing. He'll tell you about the process and procedure used and how it's done properly that day. And you'll see the defendant riding in the ambulance, taken to the hospital for treatment, taken to the Cedar Rapids Police Department, and what he said had happened. You see his tone, his body language, and how concerned he had or shown or remorse for the loss of his family. And all the defendant would say is, "I didn't do this," that it was some intruder, some black man wearing all black and green shoes. You hear about the investigation done over 3 days by Cedar Rapids police officers, how they process this home to look for evidence. You hear from investigator Brandon Bosenberg, an identification officer, to tell you about how a scene is processed, photographed, and evidence is collected and secured. They talk about how things have fingerprints, how fingerprints are looked for, potentially how DNA is looked for. What you will continue to hear is that there is no evidence to show that anyone else was there except for the defendant. That the officers canvassed the neighborhood looking for security footage, what they received from neighbors named Bao Li Yang and his daughter Lydia Yang. From their desk camera from that day, you see nobody entering or leaving the home. In fact, they even pulled the Ring doorbell cameras from the Jackson's home, from the front
Oh,
of the
damn.
house, more importantly, from the back of the house, where again you see no one coming and going to support that this phantom ever existed. You hear about this unique Browning .22 rifle. Not your typical .22 rifle. Where a typical .22 rifle is that you load the bullet in the chamber above, and it's an automatic, where after you shoot, you pull back the stop, and it discharges the bullets, and where the bullets will fly anywhere because of how it discharged. This unique Browning .22 rifle is loaded in the stock, or the butt of the gun. We put 11 bullets, one at a time, in this gun. You extend the rod, cock the rod, which puts the bullet in the chamber. What's unique also about this gun is that it's a semi-automatic .22 rifle, meaning you can fire the 11 shots without having to re-put a bullet in the chamber. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And also when those bullets are discharged, they come out from the bottom of the gun, where a nice, neat pile is gathered. A gun that the defendant told officers that him and his dad were cleaning the day before because it jams up. A gun that was used on all 3 of the Jackson family members. A gun where no officer, when looking at it, knew how to load it. A gun where identification officer Brandon Boseberger, who has seen multiple firearms, had to look up a YouTube video to figure out how this gun is loaded. This gun was shot more than 11 times on that June 15, 2021 day, meaning it had to be loaded more than once. And you'll get exactly the amount of bullets and shell casings that were found.
That's premeditation, y'all.
From Deputy Medical Examiner Dr. Kelly Cruz, to perform the autopsies on Melissa Jackson, Sabrina Jackson, and Jane Jackson. Sabrina Jackson was shot twice. Once from a distance, into her chest, out of her chest, into her arm. She was then shot closely in the face, through the eye. Jan Jackson was shot 5 times. Twice in the head, in the neck, and the stomach. Melissa Jackson was shot twice, both in the head, from a close range. But there were multiple shell casings. On each one of these showed that the shots initially came from a distance, and the last kill shots were up close and personal shots. The defendant will claim that he did not hear anything because he was sleeping outside on the sun porch with his dog, Hero. A day in June 15, 2021, where it was 80 plus degrees, with over 39% humidity. And you'll listen to this interview that he didn't hear anything until after fact and had to struggle with this mystery man down in the basement, and that's how he got shot in the foot. He got shot in the foot after 3 people were dead, and that the mystery man left the gun behind, didn't finish him off. Yet, I think the officer will talk about processing this gun. There's no DNA located. There was fingerprints located on the handle area of the gun. 1 set of fingerprints, clear as day. Those fingerprints and palm prints belong to Alex Jackson. And they weren't in an area necessary where it would seem to have pulled the gun or there's a struggle. These prints were clear. There's no sign of them being wiped away or smudged by someone else. In fact, Investigator Boseberg was able to lift these prints, form a scan, and put them on the gun, where an individual would be holding the gun, pointing down and shooting yourself in the foot. You'll hear from neighbors as well. Edward Downey will talk about the family, the neighborhood. They were quiet. They were to themselves. And Sabrina seemed to have a lot of energy, was a good person. Active.
I don't know if you guys can hear any of that. I'm just playing with the thingies.
About this case. But this information gives you that knowledge this evidence, this knowledge, is true, you will see that there is only one person responsible for these events that happened on June 15th of 2021. That the person responsible for the deaths of Sabrina Jackson, Jan Jackson, Melissa Jackson, was caused by their own family member, the defendant, when he shot and killed them with that .22 Browning rifle. And not just once for each one, multiple times. Taking the time to load this gun more than 11 bullets. And at the conclusion of this trial, my co-counsel, Ms. Slaughter, will summarize all of this for you. And on behalf of the state, she will ask that you render verdicts of guilty, murder first degree, for each one of these family members. That you find the defendant guilty of murder of the first degree for Jane Jackson. That you find the defendant guilty of murder of the first degree, Sabrina Jackson. And that you find the defendant guilty of murder of the first degree for Melissa Jackson. Thank you.
Ms. Garner, are you prepared to proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. Counsel. Having just seen his father lying in a pool of blood on the ground, with a gunshot bleeding from his foot, in shock, as officers said, heavily medicated with fentanyl, officers wasted no time at all accusing Alexander Jackson of killing his family. And although they interrogated him for over 7 hours, it took about 35 minutes before they decided that Alexander Jackson was their suspect. And Officer Matt Dindlinger and Sarah Lucina had never even stepped
She
foot
came out
on the
just
crime scene.
swinging.
You'll see in those 7.5 hours that Alexander Jackson never wavered in telling officers what happened to him that morning. He told them over 13 different ways that it was not him. But charging Alex was the easiest route for officers. And as the state said, you will hear about Alexander Jackson having a good childhood growing up. At a young age, he participated in Boy Scouts. He received 34 merit badges to lead him on to become an Eagle Scout on November 17th in 2017. You will hear that at 17 years old, Alex led an Eagle project where he helped restore a saved Cedar Rapids heritage home and had what's mentioned in the Gazette. You'll also hear that throughout high school, Alexander Jackson was a member of the band, member of the marching band, and where he played the flute. You'll hear he graduated from Kennedy High School in 2019 and was accepted into the University of Iowa that fall. You're going to hear that Alex was raised by
Stop
loving
playing.
parents.
I really
He had
don't
great
know if
relationships with his
y'all can
mother
hear
and his
that.
father both, spending time with them, helping them out around the house. You're going to hear about how the entire family spent time together, catching up over dinner and watching movies together. You'll especially hear how Alex loved playing video games with his father, and they did, on occasion, go to the shooting range. And on that night of June 14th, you're going to hear exactly that. But the night before, Alex was with his family, having dinner, watching movies. Shortly after, Alex goes to his bedroom and retrieves this .22 Browning rifle. And that way, him and his father can clean this rifle. They had plans to go to the shooting range that next day. So after a while, you're going to hear that Alex leaves his dad with this gun, goes and plays video games with his friends, and then goes to bed on the porch, as he normally and regularly has in the past. As an Eagle Scout, that's not surprising to want to sleep outside. And thankfully, he didn't sleep in his room that night, because as you'll hear, around 8:10 that morning, Alex woke up to multiple gunshots, and scared, he finally goes downstairs to see what was happening. And as he approaches those stairs, he sees a man messing with his dad's gun. You'll hear his first instinct was to run towards that man, pushing him, trying to get this gun away from him. But the man wouldn't let go of the gun. And during this struggle and this incident, Alex is shot one time into his foot, causing it to immediately shoot out blood. Alex gets a hold of the gun, and the man runs back out the door, leaving the door open. Now you're going to hear that Alex's first thought was to call 911, which he does. He couldn't stand or walk, so Alex crawls to his bedroom to find a tourniquet to put around his foot. Police arrive, and they place him in the ambulance, where they immediately give him fentanyl. Alex breaks down in tears, and one of the first things he asks is if his father is okay. He's hoping that his father is in an ambulance as well, and you'll hear him ask Steve what's up. Now you'll hear at the hospital that officers begin their interrogation. One of the first things they do is read Alex his Miranda rights without Alex even asking for an attorney. Alex freely speaks with officers. And as I said, only 35 minutes into that interview, they begin directing their questions towards Alex as though he's the suspect in killing his family. They ask him, do they ever do anything to upset you? You're going to hear that for 6 more hours,
Well, he is the
officers go on
only
this fishing expedition
living.
with Alex, accusing him of killing his mother and his father and his sister. While on fentanyl, while he's bleeding, while he had just been shot and saw his father lying in blood, you will hear officers attempt to catch Alex alive for the next 6 hours. Officers will accuse Alex of having mental health issues. They'll tell him he needs to go to a mental ward. They tell him he needs a social worker without any proof of that. You'll hear officers begin talking about his home life, starting with accusing him of dropping out of college. Officers aren't thinking that it's June 15th. Alex is at home that day because it's summer break and he's not in college at the time. You'll even hear officers continually put Alex down about his struggles in school, going so far as to saying a guy with no job and no girlfriend should have all the time in the world to pass classes with a B. At this time, students everywhere were struggling with school, online schooling, because it was during and after COVID. You'll then hear officers begin to tell Alex how his dad's unhappy with him and how his grades aren't that great and they don't have the best of relationships. And then they use the interrogation tactic of telling Alex that his sister is his parents' favorite child. At one point, you'll even hear officers ask him his sister's password to her phone, suggesting, is it dad's favorite number 1? But you'll hear Alex tell officers how his dad's proud of him, how his parents didn't have a favorite and that they love them both equally. You'll hear when that doesn't work, they then move on to his relationship with his sister. Tell me about this relationship with your sister. And as brothers and sisters are, Alex says, I mean, we're brother and sister. We're not the closest, but she is my sister. Their response, with no reasoning at all, I can tell you don't like your sister. And you'll hear that after all this questioning, after speaking with neighbors, talking to friends, going through home records, that officers found no evidence at all that Alex did not get along with his family or with his parents. There's no history of mental illness. You'll hear nothing except he enjoyed band. He enjoyed scouts. He was respectful to his teachers, respectful to his parents. No one who knew them said anything about this family was unusual. Then they continue to question Alex. You'll hear that officers tell him, you told the 911 operator that your mother and sister was dead. Alex is adamant that that's untrue. He did not know the condition of his mother and sister. He hadn't seen them that morning. You'll hear for yourselves in the 911 call that will be played that Alex never once mentions his mother or his sister. He says that he's been shot and a family member has shot. He's only referring to his father, who he saw lying in blood. You'll hear that officers tried to imply that his mom's blood would be on him or his body somewhere. You'll hear that officers took multiple swabs from Alex, multiple swabs from areas around his body, that they tested different pieces of clothing that he had on, and officers found no other blood on Alex except from his own body. You'll hear that officers found 2 separate prints on that rifle that was on the scene. One belonging to Alex, the other print belonging to an unidentified person. You will also hear that none of the victims' blood was found on Alex, no matter how close officers claimed that he was to the victims when they were shot. You'll also hear that none of the victims' blood was found on the gun either. In fact, you're going to hear that no blood and no DNA was found on that gun or the muzzle of that gun, despite Alex telling them that blood shot out of his foot when he was shot, which makes it very difficult to not find blood on this gun. You'll also hear that the officers didn't even bother to test whether there are any fingerprints or DNA on these shell casings, on bullets later removed from that gun, or from any bullets that were dropped on the floor in the living room. You're also going to hear the officers
I mean, it was their gun.
at 6:50 a.m. when Alex had told officers he was asleep at an hour and a half later. What was Alex Googling that morning? Who played the Emperor in the Star Wars movie? That is not the search engine of someone who is about to kill their family.
Well, you don't know that.
You'll also hear that
Pretty presumptuous of you.
took his canine, who was well trained in tracking scent, disturbed vegetation, and explosive detection. He took this canine property, but not the entire property. As you will see, the canine was never taken out the basement to the right side, over on brick and concrete. You'll see from the officer's body cam, to the right would be the logical path that an intruder would enter and exit among the rest of the area of the yard. And additionally, you're going to hear from a canine expert that it would be difficult for a canine to track a crime scene where multiple officers, multiple ambulance, and multiple people from fire had been all over the property. And you're going to hear that dogs cannot track on brick and concrete. Lastly, along with that, you are going to hear that officers accuse Alex of interrupting the recording of the ring cameras. They say to him, "How soon before this happened did you mess with the cameras? At what point did you unplug the cameras?"
I don't know about any of the things that she just said, if they're true.
You're going to hear that that was untrue.
I feel like dogs can track on a lot of
All
things.
4 cameras were working. The garage and the front door showed the police activity. However, the motion detector on the backyard camera only detected a limited area of the backyard. It detected to the extreme left of the house. That camera was on the front porch of the bedroom.
Girl, don't do that with your nails.
The same area Alex activated it while he was doing a chore for his mother the night prior. Not one camera had been touched, as the officers alluded to. You're going to hear that Alexander Jackson's fingerprints were not on that camera. You're going to hear that it was a wireless camera, so there's no way to unplug it. And you're going to hear that it was battery operated, and that the battery was still inside of this camera when officers took it. You're going to hear, based on the questioning of officers to Alex, that he appeared to only know about the cameras in the front and the garage. Those are 2 major pieces of evidence in this case.
It's so aggressive.
An intruder coming into the house, and in no way did they rule out an intruder. This was a home invasion with an unknown motive. An intruder who escaped out the back door and left it open. The evidence will show that the police made very little to no effort in this investigation. Alexander Jackson was the 4th victim in this case. There's no doubt this is a tragedy, no doubt at all. Do not compound this tragedy by convicting Alexander Jackson of murder. Thank you.
Okay, well, we are going to end it right there, and you can probably hear my children screaming in the background because they're lunatics. Okay, well, that's the opening statements for the prosecution and the defense on this one. It is amazing how you can start with one and then you're like, okay, I can see I can see that. I could see how they're I could see their side of the story. Seems pretty logical. And when you hear the other side and you're like, well, they make some good points too. So maybe. And I mean that's the point, right? So I think that's the point of it all. So I think but that lady, she's aggressive. She was much better than the prosecution. I will give her that. She knew what she wanted to say. She said it. She got in there. She got out. She said all of the things that she needed to say. The prosecution, they stumbled. They fell through some things. And you know, they were fumbly. They fumbled. So wasn't as clean as the other one, but she was real aggressive. I felt like I was in trouble. So I'm excited to kind of see how she does things. But the other guy, he just seemed really brand new and like, I wonder what the other lady's like. The slaughter lady. Maybe she's a little bit more aggressive because he was a little soft. But yeah, so let me know what you think in the comments below. at my door. Oh, good God. Jesus. Anyway, a dog clawing at my door. And a kid. Okay, well, let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you heard me messing with some sounds in the background, I apologize. I will know better next time. I just found those and thought, might be fun if I can make some sounds. So, okay, well, again, let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. And we will continue with this because this was a whole first day, but I'm gonna break it up. So you're not sitting here with me for 8 hours because that would be ridiculous. And I'm not gonna do that. I can't do that. Clearly you hear my children and the animals. So okay. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I will see you for the prosecution's first witness when we come back. Later.